They say Ukraine is sitting on $500 billion worth of rare earth metals, the very elements that power smartphones, fighter jets, and missile systems. If true, it could shift global supply chains, weaken China's dominance, and turn Ukraine into Europe's economic lifeline. But here's the problem. No major mining firm has invested, no large-scale extraction is happening, and China, the world's biggest rare earth player, isn't buying in. So, is this the resource breakthrough of the century? Or just another trillion-dollar illusion designed to prop up foreign aid and political agendas? The data might shock you. Ukraine's government claims it holds $500 billion worth of rare earth minerals, a staggering figure that, if true, would make it a key player in global supply chains. Yet, according to a 2023 European Commission report, Ukraine lacks the necessary infrastructure to mine, refine, or export rare earths at scale, raising serious doubts about its valuation. The claim relies on unproven geological estimates, not confirmed reserves, and global mining leaders who typically rush to secure valuable deposits have shown little interest. The U.S. Geological Survey, USGS, lists Ukraine as having potential rare earth elements, but no active extraction projects exist. A 2023 Bloomberg intelligence report noted that Ukraine's mineral wealth projections are largely speculative, given the absence of detailed feasibility studies and the country's war-related disruptions. So where is this $500 billion figure coming from? Haven't we seen this playbook before with Afghanistan's so-called trillion-dollar minerals? In 2010, a Pentagon-funded survey estimated Afghanistan held $1 trillion in untapped mineral wealth, including lithium and rare earth elements. But a 2022 analysis by the Wall Street Journal found that those projections were based on outdated Soviet-era maps and lacked credible feasibility studies. The war-torn country's lack of infrastructure made mining costs prohibitively high, rendering the estimates meaningless. Now, Ukraine's rare earths hype mirrors Afghanistan's failed mineral boom. Western governments, seeking to counter China's dominance in critical minerals, are repeating the same exaggerated projections without tangible industry commitments. If Afghanistan's resources couldn't be extracted despite 20 years of U.S. military control, why should we believe Ukraine, a country in active conflict, can turn a theoretical mineral reserve into a $500 billion industry? Ukraine has some deposits of critical minerals, including lithium, titanium, and zirconium, but rare earth elements, the materials that power electric vehicles, semiconductors, and missile guidance systems, are not confirmed in significant quantities. A 2023 study by the European Raw Materials Alliance, ERMA, found that Ukraine's total identified rare earth deposits amount to less than 1% of global reserves, compared to China's 37% share. Source USGS. The Ukrainian Geological Survey has yet to conduct the necessary large-scale drilling to validate its estimated reserves. According to a 2023 Reuters report, global mining firms have not bid on any major rare earth extraction projects in Ukraine, a clear sign that industry experts see these deposits as economically or geologically unviable. The $500 billion valuation traces back to a 2022 NATO-backed study that framed Ukraine as Europe's next rare earth supplier. The report, however, relied on broad resource estimates rather than proven reserves, a distinction that industry insiders quickly questioned. The Financial Times noted in 2023 that Ukraine's mineral potential is vastly overstated without operational infrastructure or confirmed feasibility assessments. A similar pattern occurred with Afghanistan, where exaggerated mineral valuations were used to justify increased foreign involvement. The narrative surrounding Ukraine's rare earths may serve a geopolitical function, creating the illusion of future economic strength to attract foreign aid and investment commitments. The 100 million ton figure includes a broad mix of minerals, but only a fraction are rare earth elements, and even fewer are economically viable. A 2023 European Commission report emphasized that Ukraine's rare earth concentrations are low-grade and expensive to refine, making large-scale extraction unprofitable. Even in countries with abundant high-quality deposits, mining projects take 10 to 15 years to develop. In Ukraine, where the war has destroyed key infrastructure, those timelines stretch further. Without major international investment, the 100 million ton claim is meaningless from a commercial standpoint. China dominates 70% of global rare earth production and 90% of processing capacity, according to the International Energy Agency. It aggressively secures rare earth assets abroad, striking deals in Africa, Latin America, and even Afghanistan. Yet China has made no serious investment in Ukraine's so-called deposits. The China Geological Survey has conducted rare earth assessments in over 50 countries, but Ukraine has never been a target. A 2023 South China Morning Post report stated that Chinese firms see Ukraine's reserves as low-yield, high-cost, and geopolitically unstable. If the world's biggest rare earth player isn't interested, what does that say about the credibility of Ukraine's mineral wealth claims? Ukraine's rare earth valuation crumbles when examined through the lens of economic feasibility. The claim relies on hypothetical resource estimates, not proven, extractable reserves, a distinction with billions of dollars at stake. According to a 2024 Bloomberg intelligence report, Ukraine lacks the industrial capacity to process rare earths, and constructing a refining infrastructure would require at least $30 billion in investment over a decade, assuming stable political conditions. The International Energy Agency notes that even in established mining regions, rare earth extraction takes 10 to 15 years before production becomes commercially viable. Yet, no global mining firm has committed to large-scale investment in Ukraine's deposits. If these reserves were truly worth $500 billion, major players like China's Shenge Resources or Australia's Lynas Rare Earths would have already secured long-term agreements, as they have done in Africa and South America. Instead, the Ukrainian government is relying on optimistic projections without hard commitments from industry leaders. Market realities further undermine the valuation. The rare earth sector is highly volatile, with prices for key elements like neodymium falling 45% in 2023 due to China's increased production and technological advancements in magnet recycling, according to the Wall Street Journal. The idea that Ukraine could compete in an oversupplied market without refining capacity or established buyers defies economic logic. Additionally, the cost of securing mining infrastructure in a war zone is significantly higher than in stable regions. A 2023 IMF report estimates that Ukraine would need $411 billion to rebuild its overall economy, making rare earth investments a low priority. Without a clear extraction strategy, Ukraine's $500 billion estimate remains a theoretical number, not an industry-verified reality. The NATO-backed European Raw Materials Alliance, or ERMA, positioned Ukraine as Europe's rare earth savior, but independent analysts are skeptical. The 2023 Financial Times special report on Ukraine's resource sector highlighted that ERMA's estimates lacked comprehensive feasibility studies and did not factor in the immense capital expenditures required for mining and refining. Historically, NATO has pushed narratives that align with strategic priorities, and Ukraine's rare earth claims provide a justification for long-term Western financial and military support. Dr. Simon Morse, CEO of Benchmark Mineral Intelligence, stated in a 2024 industry briefing that Ukraine's mineral resource claims are being amplified for geopolitical reasons, but the fundamental challenge is economic viability. Beyond economic concerns, NATO's involvement raises questions about supply chain influence. Europe is desperate to reduce China's 98% market share in rare earth refining, according to Reuters in 2023. And Ukraine's hypothetical reserves provide an attractive, though speculative, alternative. However, mining projects cannot be built on strategic wishful thinking. According to S&P Global, Europe's current rare earth initiatives, such as Sweden's LKAB deposit, face at least a 12-year timeline before reaching operational status. If an advanced economy like Sweden requires over a decade, Ukraine's path to becoming a global supplier is even more uncertain. The U.S. military framed Afghanistan's trillion-dollar minerals as a post-war economic solution, but internal documents later revealed the figures were exaggerated. The Pentagon's goal was to entice foreign investors, but logistical realities, security risks, lack of infrastructure, and corruption rendered the deposits commercially unviable. The Afghanistan Geological Survey found that only a fraction of the estimated resources were economically extractable, and despite 2 decades of U.S. occupation, not a single large-scale mining project materialized. Ukraine's rare earths narrative follows the same pattern. In both cases, Western governments promoted mineral wealth as a future economic pillar, yet neither country had the necessary mining infrastructure, regulatory framework, or corporate investment commitments to turn estimates into tangible industry outputs. Dr. Robert Rapier, an energy economist writing for Forbes, noted in 2023 that the geopolitical motivations behind mineral resource projections often overshadow the fundamental reality of supply chain constraints and extraction costs. If Afghanistan, with decades of Western investment, failed to capitalize on its mineral wealth, why would Ukraine, actively engaged in conflict, be any different? China is the world's largest rare earth consumer and producer, controlling 70% of global extraction and over 90% of refining capacity. Yet, Beijing never made significant investments in Afghanistan's minerals, despite multiple opportunities to do so. The Chinese state-owned Enterprise Metallurgical Corp of China, or MCC, won a bid for Afghanistan's Mizainak copper mine in 2007 but abandoned development due to security risks, high extraction costs, and lack of infrastructure. If China, known for aggressively acquiring mineral assets, walked away, it signaled that the costs outweighed potential returns. Ukraine presents an even less attractive investment case. Despite diplomatic ties between Kiev and Beijing before the war, China has not secured any major mining agreements in Ukraine. In contrast, China has invested over $10 billion in lithium and rare earth projects across Africa since 2021. The absence of Chinese interest suggests that Ukraine's resource claims are inflated, or that its deposits are too costly to extract at scale. Professor John Lee, a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute, argued in a 2024 Reuters interview that China's strategic investment behavior signals the viability of resource claims. If Beijing isn't interested, there's usually a fundamental problem with commercial feasibility. Economic distress often fuels exaggerated resource claims. Ukraine's national debt hit $132 billion in 2023, and its economy contracted by 29% in 2022 due to the war. Framing the country as a future mineral superpower supports a narrative that justifies ongoing financial aid from Western governments. In 2023 alone, Ukraine received over $75 billion in military and economic assistance from the US and EU, a significant portion tied to reconstruction efforts. The promise of rare earth serves as a future repayment narrative, suggesting Ukraine could one day become an export powerhouse, despite no clear extraction roadmap. This strategy isn't unique. Venezuela used exaggerated oil reserve claims in the 2000s to secure international loans, only for output to collapse due to mismanagement and underinvestment. Ukraine's rare earths narrative may serve a similar function, offering Western creditors a perceived long-term asset base to justify financial support. even if real industry development remains decades away. Governments often prioritize short-term strategic narratives over long-term economic reality. Whether it was Afghanistan's trillion-dollar minerals, Venezuela's overestimated oil potential, or now Ukraine's rare earth claims, policymakers use resource wealth narratives to shape foreign policy, justify financial commitments, and influence public perception. According to a 2023 Harvard Kennedy School report, exaggerated mineral valuations often serve as diplomatic leverage rather than genuine economic projections. The rare earth sector is also driven by geopolitical anxieties. With the US and EU seeking alternatives to China's rare earth dominance, any new potential supply source, no matter how speculative, is amplified. But as history shows, real supply chains take decades to develop, and exaggerated claims only serve short-term strategic interests, not market realities. The question is not whether Ukraine has minerals, but whether they are commercially viable. And so far, the evidence suggests otherwise. We're glad you're enjoying this video. Please like and subscribe. Check out another video that is now on your screen.